Right in the middle of talking about lynch mobs and fraud, the thread takes this sharp left turn into a very personal meta conversation about handwriting.
It's unbelievable. A user known as Null posts an image of their signature, and it just launches this whole tangent. Null complains that their natural signature was called bad, so they practiced this fucking bullshit fancy signature.
Only to be told it looked extremely feminine.
Right. And the community's reaction is so varied and personal.
Another user, named Sensitive Young Man, immediately delivers this judgment that just cuts deep. He says, "You have an extremely feminine signature."
It's a direct challenge to Null's perceived masculinity, his competence.
And Null's defensive reaction is just extreme. He replies with, "Kill yourself."
Which is such a disproportionate response. But it shows just how tightly bound these users' digital identities are to their self-presentation. The insult goes way beyond aesthetics. It challenges a core assumption about who they think they are.
And the argument that follows just spirals. It forces users to debate the very meaning of gender and penmanship. He explains the personal struggle that led to this moment. He admits that he had signed naturally for years, but he constantly received negative feedback about how bad his handwriting was.
So the solution Null came up with was to create a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
He had to, and this is his quote, look at videos and created some fucking bullshit and practiced it, and now it's too fancy.
He intentionally constructed an artificial, aesthetically pleasing, fancy signature just to ward off judgment.
And here's the core tragedy of it all.
Yeah.
That constructed identity, the one he built to avoid being criticized as bad or incompetent, is now being criticized as feminine. His defense mechanism completely failed. The very thing he created to protect himself is being attacked as just as disqualifying as his original natural handwriting.
And the result is this final eruption of rage. Null links this trivial, intensely personal offense directly back to the macro-level chaos they were just discussing. He says, "This is why our government is shit. Fucking primitives run the show." The personal offense validates his entire worldview of societal failure.
It all connects.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? The sources show that for these users, there is no separation between the political and the personal. The same intense emotional investment used to attack a CBS anchor's education is instantly available to defend a signature.
The anxiety isn't really about policy. It's about competence, it's about identity, and it's about the fear of being judged as inadequate, whether that's on a ballot or just a piece of paper.
The pattern we've traced, moving from the macro anxieties of global politics to the micro anxiety over a single line of ink.
It shows that in a digital world where identity is so fluid, people are forced to create and defend these artificial proxies for their competence. They feel they have to construct an aesthetically pleasing, sometimes fancy identity, even for something as analog as a signature.
Simply to ward off the judgment of others.
Exactly.
It really makes you wonder.
Which brings us to maybe the most revealing part of this whole story, where the author, Null or Moon, actually tries to defend his own signature.
Yes, and his defense is incredible. He pulls back the curtain on the whole performance.
He explains that he used his original natural signature before and got nothing but bad feedback. He says, every single time I got comments about how bad it was.
So his authentic self, so to speak, was already rejected by this audience. He had to invent a new persona just to be taken seriously.
Exactly. And he tells you exactly how he did it. He says he looked at videos and created some fucking bullshit and practiced it.
His words, not ours.
His words. And the result is the signature on the letter, the one that he himself now thinks is too fancy.
So, if you're trying to learn from this, think about the vulnerability there. The author literally manufactured a signature to try and conform to what he thought professional looked like.
He treated his own identity like a brand that needed to be workshopped.
And the irony is just, it's absolute. The very performance of authority he created to be taken seriously by a senator
Is the exact thing the forum attacks him for.
His effort to look professional became the main point of ridicule, and it completely derailed his political goal. He even ends up calling his own creation fucking bullshit.
The whole performance just collapses in on itself. The mission to save the country gets completely overshadowed by the fact that his penmanship wasn't convincing enough.
And it seems like once that performance failed, once that mask was ripped off, it just opened a door to something else.
A psychological door is a good way to put it. Once the pretense of formality was gone, the real engine of his motivation could finally come out, unfiltered.
Okay, so we're moving into the final section here, and we need to be really clear with you, the listener, about the severe shift in tone.
This is an abrupt change. We're moving from a discussion about calligraphy and professionalism to some of the most extreme rhetoric in the source material.
It really shows that the whole S.528 advocacy and even the defense of the signature might have just been a thin layer over a much darker ideological core.
Right. The author's next comment just violently pivots away from everything we've been talking about.
It's an incredibly aggressive outburst. He states, and this is a direct quote, that he legit want to double action pump shotgun every fucking retard in the fucking chest.
It's a graphic fantasy of mass violence. And right after that, he gives a very clear, very hateful political reason for why he thinks the government is shit.
Yeah, he explicitly blames racial minorities. He uses vile slurs claiming niggers and Indians are raping us and concludes with fucking primitives run the show.
And we have to report those words directly from the source to really show the full spectrum here, but let's just acknowledge the gravity of that.
Of course. This is a documented, rapid descent from formal political letter writing into just raw ideological hatred and fantasies of violence.
If you track the whole journey, it's just wild. You start with someone meticulously crafting a letter to Congress about election security, a formal, legitimate channel.
And then, within just a few posts in the same online space, that same person has dropped every pretense and is revealing this underlying worldview of just extreme racism and aggression.
It shows you the user's full communicative range. He's perfectly capable of playing the part of a concerned citizen when he's writing to a senator.
But the second that performance is challenged, with an insult about his handwriting, of all things,
The whole thing shatters, and what's underneath is that vile, raw core.
it really makes you question what the true motivation was here. Was the policy, this AV Act, the real driver, or was the policy just a convenient, socially acceptable container for pre-existing rage?
And the forum is the perfect environment for that to come out.
Yeah.
Because the second the performance of sincerity is questioned, he abandons it and just embraces the most extreme version of himself.
So to recap, this deep dive has really traced 4 clear stages.
First, the rigid formal policy plea in the letter.
Then the immediate trivialization of that plea and the personal attack on the signature.
Third, the author's own revealing defense of his failed attempt at professionalism.
And finally, the full ideological escalation into shocking violence and hate speech.
It's a pretty chilling look at how thin the line is between what looks like structured political discourse and just pure nihilistic ideology online.
So what does this all mean for you? As you think about this, consider what these sources reveal about the performative nature of identity, especially political identity, online.
When a sincere, or at least a deeply performed call for national survival can be broken down and scrutinized to the level of someone's handwriting.
And that trivial critique is enough to unlock these incredibly dark forms of hatred. What value does formal communication even have in a radicalized space like that?
It's a serious question. When the attempt to be serious is immediately dismissed by the community and then, crucially, by the author himself as fucking bullshit, what standard of communication is even left? Other than, raw aggression and unfiltered ideology.
That is the unsettling question this dive leaves us with.
For sure.
On that thought, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thank you for joining us as we analyze the anatomy of this radical collapse. We'll see you next time.